3, 2. Welcome everyone back to Mayhemtainment. This is episode 19, wrestling, and more wrestling. We've been doing a couple of wrestling episodes. Our last couple of episodes have been wrestling episodes. We've been making some new friends, and we got another new friend here on this episode, Mike D from Wrestling from 313. Make sure you check him out on Facebook and on YouTube. Give him a like and a subscribe, and tell him that Mayhem sent you.
Oh yeah, definitely. What up, though?
Yo, Mike D, welcome to Mayhem Media, or Mayhemtainment is the name of this particular show. So it's good to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This is the second podcast that I've been on, that I've been a guest on. So, hopefully I continue to let that number grow. Have a lot of fun doing it. Just talking wrestling and stuff. So you're kind of new to the podcast scene. You've only done one episode so far, right? Just one? Yep. I actually recorded my second one yesterday. I went to a indie show not too far from where I live. Northwest Championship Wrestling had a show called Sudden Impact that's in Berkeley, Michigan, outside of Detroit, and had a real good time. And then afterwards I had an opportunity to interview the owner and one of the photographers. It's a nice promotion. They also have ties with Impact Wrestling.
Nice.
Impact Wrestling actually goes to their promotion to look for stars. You know what I'm saying? It's basically like how OVW was to WWE.
Oh, very good. Okay, yeah. Some of these independent promotions are working with trying to work with some of the bigger ones, which I think is great. The more interconnection you have with these wrestling organizations, the better the product's going to be. The more wrestlers you're going to see.
Definitely.
So that's great. Make sure you definitely check them out on YouTube then, and look for that episode. I'm sure that's going to be a great episode then. If you got to interview the owner, that's going to be a good catch there.
Yeah.
So how long have you been a fan of wrestling?
Probably since I was a kid. I'm in my 40s now, so I would probably have to say I've been a fan of wrestling since I was anywhere the age between 3 and 5.
So who was your first favorite wrestler? Who got you into it initially?
It was probably Hulk Hogan.
Hogan?
But he was like, he was the Batman. You know what I'm saying? Like any toy that was out, Hulk Hogan. Any T-shirt, Hulk Hogan. Like Hulk Hogan was the guy that like really put wrestling on the map in the 80s.
Yep.
Because people were into it, but they really weren't into it. So it was like when Hogan came around, and then when WWE did that whole thing with MTV, the rock and wrestling thing, he took wrestling to a whole nother level. So he was definitely one of my favorites growing up. And of course I like Macho Man, Roddy Piper, Andre.
Absolutely. Piper especially. Macho Man's a hell of a worker too, but Piper also, he's crazy. We just did a review episode on one of the Royal Rumbles, and it was the one Piper started 3 and ended up making it till the final 10 in the Royal Rumble. Yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy showing by Piper. And earlier in that night, he had just won the Intercontinental title, so he had already wrestled once, and then was in the Royal Rumble for, I think it was just over 60 minutes or just under 60 minutes. He was in the Royal Rumble. He's crazy.
It's crazy that he never won a world title.
I don't
understand how one of the greatest villains in wrestling never been a champion.
Yeah, I can answer that for you. You're not going to like the answer because if Hogan's one of your favorites, if he got you into it, you're not going to like it. It's because Hogan would never. He would never lose to Piper.
Oh yeah.
I was just watching WCW where the NWO was coming in, and then Piper comes in, and they had a match. Piper beat him, but it wasn't for the title. It was a non-title match. So that was the only way he was going to lose to Piper, is if it was a non-title match.
Even with the Starrcade match with him and Sting, Hogan didn't want to go over on Sting, but that was like there was no other way for that to end. Like
they had to make it have
Sting. You couldn't have him do all that for almost 2 years, get in the ring, and then lose. It'll be like, what's the point? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. And Sting's my favorite wrestler. So
that's
having him have him lose, have him win the way he did, and then have them strip him from the title and stuff. It was just like, oh, that's just Hogan. That's just Hogan not wanting to do the job to somebody. And that's what I don't like about Hogan is he never wants to put someone else over, ever.
Yeah.
He never wants to put someone else over. That's my only problem with Hogan.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I was a huge Hogan fan too. You know, the Hulk up, and you know everything he did was, you know, was right up my alley.
Yeah.
Until I started watching WCW, and once I saw Sting became my favorite wrestler right away.
Sting was always my favorite, even when he had the surfer, the high top fade,
Yep.
and the colorful makeup. But it was that character when he went to the black and white.
The Crow, yep.
Yeah, and it kind of reminded me of like the Crow and a little bit of Batman, just the whole dark night theme and just being that vigilante and stuff. So that was probably one of the best storylines that I've seen in pro wrestling. I still think the Sting and Hogan storyline is number one, and I think the Bloodline is like right up under it.
Yeah, I haven't watched too much of the Bloodline. I've never been, full disclosure, I've never been a huge WWE fan, even after they bought the WCW. I tried to watch them for a little while. I watched them for a couple of years. I'm never, like, I'll watch them, but I'm not into it. I'm not dedicated to the characters and to what's happening.
Okay.
They do things differently the way that AEW does and the way WCW did. And I always preferred them. I like the action in the ring. The storyline's great, you know, the NWO thing and the Sting, all the storylines are good, but WWE always had too much talking for me. You know what I mean? Vince McMahon coming out every Monday and talking for 20 minutes to start the show. That was an immediate turnoff for me. I'm like, I don't want to hear you. I don't care about you. I was like, let me see some good matches. Let me see some people put on some good 20-minute matches, 30-minute matches. That's what I like. And even that's one of my complaints. I think AEW sometimes does their matches a little too quickly. I think there's nothing wrong with a 10-minute match, especially with some of the guys they have. They put on such high explosive, high impact, high flying matches that in 10 minutes, they do a lot of stuff in 10 minutes. Yeah. But I like the longer matches, 20, 30 minutes. Let's see these wrestlers work. I want to see them sweating. I want to see them, you know, beating each other up for a while. I want it to be a fight. Yeah. So that's something that I look for. And WWE never did a lot of that. It was always, you know, shorter matches and so much talking all the time. That's why I could never get into them the way I wanted to.
They're starting to get into that now. I would say a couple years back with NXT, the black and gold, when they had basically all the top stars from like the indie scene and Ring of Honor and TNA. Once all of them got to NXT, that's when you started seeing like good wrestling. Like that era of NXT was better than the Raw and SmackDown era at that time. Like,
now I just did an episode. Make sure you catch that. I just did an episode with Crander Q, Friends of the Squared Circle.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah, and we were talking. We happened to talk about. I just lost my train of thought there, but my apologies, everybody. Yeah, go ahead. Just continue. Sorry, forgot what I was going to say there.
But yeah,
it had to do with what you were saying, but then I totally forgot it when I remembered to give Crander a shout out. So it happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, the WWE, I could never. It was a little too much talking for me. I tried, and I respect the fact, like, I don't want them to close. Let's be clear about that, because there's so many haters out there that love one company, but then hate another.
It's like, dog. Yeah.
And I'm not about that hate. Like, just because I'm not a fan of the WWE product in all forms doesn't mean I want them to close down or shut down.
Yeah.
Like, they still need to be out there. The competition. It's the competition that makes the wrestling better. WCW and WWE were at their best when they were competing against each other.
Yeah.
And I think
that's one of the problems with WWE. They don't have any competition. Like AEW,
AEW, they're starting.
Yeah. They're gaining momentum, but it's just like AEW just needs to do something that's gonna get people watching. And I think that's the difference between wrestling now and back in the day. Back in the day, we always had to watch. Whether if you was watching WCW, you wanted to see what the NWO was gonna do. Was Sting gonna come down from the rafters? And then you had in WWE, what was Austin gonna do to McMahon? Exactly. What was The Rock gonna say? What was DX gonna do? You know what I'm saying? So it was that must-see TV. Wrestling was must-see TV back in the day. Now it's just kind of like, if you a fan, you gonna watch it because you like wrestling. You know what I'm saying? but they don't have that extra fan base than people that out from the outside looking in coming to watch the shows.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. They don't have that. Yeah, they don't have that that extra factor, like you said, with the Stone Cold and McMahon thing and the NWO invasion. That was something that caught the attention of everybody, not just wrestling fans.
Yeah,
that was something that caught the attention of everybody. And AEW has a great product, but you're right, they don't have something. I think they had something. I think, man, if we hadn't lost Brody Lee, I think the Dark Order. I think the Dark Order was going to be huge. I think that was going to be a huge storyline. I would have loved to have seen that played out.
I think that if he didn't pass, I think the Dark Order would still be a tight faction. But I'll also say if they were able to get Bray Wyatt from WWE, in that Dark Order faction, we definitely could see something. If he was in AEW with the Dark Order, I could see him going up against Aleister Black and his crew. What's
Malachi
the name?
Black. Malachi Black. You mean the House of Black?
Yeah, Malachi. Yeah,
Malachi Black. Yeah. Oh, I love the House of Black. Oh, I love the House of Black. Yeah. Malachi Black he's definitely one of my AEW favorites. I like Buddy Matthews and Brody King too, but I'm a huge Malachi Black fan. I love the whole House of Black. I love Julia Hart. I love that they put Julia Hart with the House of Black. That was so much better for her character than her being the blonde with the Hollywood blondes and before that. When they made her go to the House of Black, I thought, this is gold. She's going to shine in this role. Yeah. And so I love the House of Black. But I think you're right. I mean, the House of Black is great, but AEW has so much talent, and they're trying to showcase so much talent that I think that's where they're losing some of the big storyline. I think the House of Black should be feuding with the All Elite or the new Bullet Club Gold or something like that. I think the House of Black could be huge heels, a huge heel faction if they did them a little bit better. But they have so much talent, they're just trying to showcase everything, which I also respect. It gives a great variety on the shows.
Yeah. I think what AEW should have did when they bought Ring of Honor, they should have took advantage and put Ring of Honor like on a higher base. Like, you got shows on TNT and you got shows on TBS. Why didn't you put Ring of Honor on one of those days? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
I think they could have put it on there with I would say take Rampage off, put a Ring of Honor in that slot, and then you could have just had Dynamite and Collision as your main AEW shows. And I would even say they should have did like a brand split. Like, they got so many wrestlers.
Yeah. Listen, I agree with you. They got so much talent, especially now that TK owns Ring of Honor too. They have between both companies, they have the huge roster of wrestlers. Yeah. And Ring of Honor is still putting on some pay-per-views, so TK is trying to still keep it going. I don't like the brand split. I'm afraid they're going to do that on AEW now. I'm afraid they're going to do a Dynamite and Rampage brand split on AEW. I understand why they want to do it. I don't want to see it.
But they kind of doing it. They kind of doing it right now with Collision because CM Punk, with the beef that he got with the Elite, and he doesn't even be on Dynamite anymore.
That doesn't bother me. I'm not a CM Punk fan either. I'm not a CM Punk fan. I was just talking about that with Crander Q the other episode. I don't get it. I respect him as a worker. He can do things in the ring. He's a hell of a ring worker. I don't get his whole gimmick. I've never been a fan of his gimmick. I don't get it. And as I said in the last episode, leave a comment. Show us a CM Punk match. Tell me what match to look at, what match to watch that you think is a good CM Punk match. Try and change my mind, please, because right now I don't see it happening.
And honestly, I can't even think of a CM Punk match where I was like, "That's a classic. That's a classic."
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it's even his UFC fights. You're not going to watch them either. He's not. I don't buy his whole gimmick. I just don't buy it. I wish he would just turn heel. I would just wish he would just turn heel because I would boo the crap out of CM Punk.
Yeah, they might as well because he kind of come off as a heel anyway, So
And if you have any sources about what happens backstage and stuff, you know that CM Punk is so anti-establishment on the screen, and then as soon as the company does something that he doesn't like, then he takes, he cries about it and leaves. And it's like you can't be pro-establishment backstage and anti-establishment out in the ring. You're not Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Right.
Stone Cold's the only one that can pull that off.
Exactly.
But I'm not a huge CM Punk fan. But I don't want to see a brand split. I don't want to see a brand. What I'd love for it to have happen is for TK to make a deal with somebody and get like the WWE network on Peacock.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love for him to work with like HBO or something, because he's been talking with them. He's been talking with a couple of different places to try and maybe see about getting all their stuff on there and streaming all their stuff from like a service like HBO or Max now. It's not HBO, excuse me. It's called Max now. Yeah. But like that I would love for him to have all of his content on Max.
Yeah. That's that. Or he could just start his own. He got enough footage from AEW, and now he owns Ring of Honor. And he could just put it all together. So
I think the only reason he hasn't is because of the TV deals. I think he's gonna have to work out something with the TV deals. I love that he's on TNT and TBS, and I'm hoping he could work with another company, because they don't really have a good streaming service. TNT, TBS, they don't really have anything that's like a streaming service, or at least not anything that's very good. Yeah. So, maybe they could work with him, and TNT and TBS could maybe start their own, like use that as a bulk of their library, is put AEW and Ring of Honor on the TNT streaming service if they decide to do something, make it good. Yeah. So I see you have an NWO belt over your shoulder there.
Oh yeah.
So you got it. So you're a fan of the NWO.
Oh yeah, that's what.
Were you a fan when the NWO invasion was happening, though?
Oh yeah.
You were. Because when I was younger and watching it happen, in real time, I was against the NWO because I was a Sting fan. Yeah, I was on whatever team Sting was on. If Sting was WCW, I was WCW. And I also I did not buy none of that BS where they had the bogus Sting. Not once that I.
That was funny to me. That was funny because the bogus Sting would be out there, and then when the real Sting pop up, it's just like, oh man, I know I messed up. Nah.
Yes. And the whole Luger thing where they had the bogus Sting attack Luger, and WCW thought he turned. I didn't buy any of it. I didn't buy any of it from the beginning. And the way all wrestlers have a certain style when they fight.
Yeah.
Okay? All wrestlers. That bogus Sting did not do a good job at copying the real Stinger's style.
Yeah.
The way he kicked Lex Luger in the midsection, and the way he was using the strap around his robe to whip Lex Luger over. Sting has never used his robe to whip someone in his life. Get the hell out of here.
Right.
Get the hell out of here. That's not Sting. I didn't buy that at all.
Yeah, that whole story was just dope. And then even after that happened, when they had the Fall Brawl pay-per-view, when the Horsemen went up against the NWO, and Sting was trying to convince himself, and they like, nah, we ain't trying to hear it. They like, okay, all right, I got y'all. And then when he came in the ring and kind of beat everybody up, and then
he just crashed them. Yeah. Oh man, that was such great. I'm so glad that the deciders allowed that to happen, for Sting to just come in and just clear the NWO, just trash them, and then just walk out. Because other than Sting, the NWO did not get beat up very often. Sting was the only one that came in and would give them some, dish it out to them.
And then eventually they started letting Diamond Dallas Page get licks on the NWO. Goldberg, they started letting him get licks.
I'm not a Goldberg fan either.
You know what? I think I was more of a Goldberg fan at WCW during the streak, because it was like the Hogan and Sting run was kind of running its course. And then that's when, this is the one thing I hated about the whole NWO thing. When they did the Wolfpack and they had Luger, Sting. When Sting joined the Wolfpack,
I like the Wolfpack. I wanted them to keep it going. When they wanted to recruit Diamond Dallas Page, I wanted DDP to join the Wolfpack. I was like, yes, let's make the Wolfpack like the all-star faction. You know what I mean? Let's get rid of the NWO crap and like make our own.
Yeah.
Because the Wolfpack was kind of like the reason I liked the Wolfpack over the original NWO, or what appealed to me more about them, was because I was never, at the time, I wasn't a black and white fan. I was mainly probably because I wasn't a Hogan fan, and I was a Sting fan. But when he joined the Wolfpack, and they kind of just the way they operated. It wasn't like Kevin Nash always had to be the champion. You know what I mean? Macho Man had a chance to be the champion. Sting had a chance to be the champion. That's what I liked. It wasn't just Kevin Nash was the world champion and everybody else had to kowtow to him. It was more of a group faction. You know what I mean? More of a clique. I just wish they would have let Scott Hall be a part of it, and we could have had, the real Wolfpack, like a real Wolfpack faction for a while.
Yeah,
but
I think if they would have did, I used to always say the same thing, that when they split the NWO up, it still should have been NWO Black and White, but it should have just been Hall, Nash. I don't know if X-Pac was still in WCW then.
Yeah, he was
on this. Okay. It should have been those
three. And he was not. He was in WWE, and there was no way he was coming back to WCW after he got. I mean, he got fired by FedEx. Eric Bischoff sent him a FedEx and fired him in the mail.
Yeah.
So he was never coming back to WCW.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have loved for him to have been part of the Wolfpack too. But I liked the Sting and Luger joined. I liked Macho Man in it. I would have loved to have had DDP in it. I don't think I probably would have put too many more people than that, because you don't need what the NWO had. You don't need 4 limos pulling up. You don't need 20 guys in a stable.
They pretty much had all the mid carders and the jobbers in the NWO. That's basically who they were all adding. They added everybody except for the cruiserweight division. And then if you look at it, the cruiserweight division started becoming the LWO before Eddie Guerrero left. So, it was like, the reason why I didn't like, I think storyline wise, it didn't make sense for Sting to join the Wolfpack,
Yeah.
And I just think that if they would have just kept the Wolfpack at Hall, Nash, maybe Conan, Scott Steiner, because they were up and coming. Yeah, because they were up and coming guys. And maybe if they would have left it no more than 5 members, it would have been a good faction.
It's a Wolfpack, exactly. I was thinking 5 to 6 members, definitely no more than 7.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I would have liked to have seen it too. And yeah, Scott Steiner I would have probably been all right with Scott Steiner being on the Wolfpack too. Yeah, I think he would have matched up with those guys pretty well. Yeah. And then when they reformed it.
NWO 2000. Who was it? Brad.
I mean, just even the red and the black and the white and the black when they reformed with Hogan. The finger poke of doom.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I stop. When I go back and watch WCW, that's where I stop. That I don't watch that Nitro. I'll watch the pay-per-view right before that Nitro, but then I stop. I'm like, nope, that's the end of WCW right there. I don't watch anymore.
Yeah. I watched Nitro all the way up into the last episode when they had Sting go up against Ric Flair.
I saw it. I watched the episodes, but when I go back and rewatch it, I stop at the finger poke of doom.
Yeah, that definitely. When you watch a lot of those documentaries on WWE, they definitely say that was the thing that killed WCW.
That was the beginning of them losing everything, because they lost everything. Nobody cared about anything after that.
Yeah, and then that's when they were trying to do the whole thing with Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff and the whole powers that be, and then I guess they stripped everybody from the belts.
Yeah,
the new breed. It's like y'all doing too much.
Yeah,
it was like
said it. Yep.
It was like once WWE was able to break that to get to the finish line, or just like break the ice on the ratings war, it was a wrap. Yeah. Like and I remember the show that they broke the losing streak against WCW. It was the show that Stone Cold was supposed to go up against Vince McMahon. That was the very first time that they were supposed to have a match together, and they said that was the show that broke the 83-week losing streak.
Yeah. The NWO is what they had going for them, and the cruiserweight division. That's what the WCW had. Yeah. But without being able to keep the storyline fresh or come up with something new, it was a one-off. They had the NWO. Yeah, it lasted like 2 years, 3 years, and then they milked it for a little bit longer. But really, the NWO was the peak of WCW. That was their peak.
Yeah.
And then it was a very sharp decline down after that.
Yeah, definitely. And then I will also say that they really didn't build a lot of new stars. I will say that they helped build Scott Steiner to where he is, because for a long time in WCW, he was a tag team wrestler. And then once, Nitro and WCW started getting that momentum, that's when Scott Steiner came along and he started when he turned heel, turned on his brother.
Yeah.
And
yeah, he was good. And you're right, they didn't really do a good job. They just kind of kept grabbing people from the WWE and giving them truckloads of money and, you know, the ability to control their own character when, you know, you got 25% of your locker room that can say, no, I'm not doing that. And there's nothing you can do. What are you going to do?
Right.
So, and that was their problem was, although, you know, the NWO and Eric Bischoff, you know, I mean, without him doing that and guaranteeing wrestlers money, then wrestlers wouldn't be as well paid. They wouldn't have the schedule they have today, which I do think is better for the industry. You know, wrestlers should be able to see their families. They should be able to have time off and days off and not have to work 300 days a year.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
I definitely say that wrestlers are underpaid. They are so underpaid. I was looking at something online and they were showing what the women make, and it's ridiculous. Like, you only got maybe 3 or 4 women in WWE that's probably making close to $1 million or over $1 million. I saw some that wasn't even making 100,000 a year. Like, how? Like, you making all this money from ticket sales, merchandise, video games, all this stuff, and that's all you can pay your wrestlers. Like, even NXT, like, they still on TV, they still making money. They should get paid more than what they're getting paid.
And well, that's what I like about AEW too, though, and the WCW did a little bit, is that they just because they're under contract with AEW doesn't mean they still can't go work indie shows. They can't still get paid to go do other appearances. So I think giving them that kind of freedom, especially, you know, starting AEW, I imagine even the top guys, even your Jericho and your Moxley and your Omega, probably aren't making, you know, what some of the big like Roman Reigns money. They're not making
money.
They're not making that kind of money even with AEW, but they have more freedom to do other things in their schedule, which I think is what gives them AEW the edge. And the fact that AEW is willing to work with other wrestling companies. I mean, we saw the AAA tag team champions on, you know, the FTR was carrying around the AAA tag team belts for a couple of weeks. We see New Japan. They're working with New Japan all the time.
Yeah, and they worked with Impact Wrestling a while ago too. So
so I think that's what AEW is doing good, is working with other companies, because WWE has always had that history of being, you know, they don't work with other companies. It's their own talent. They showcase their own talent. They want their own ticket sales, their own merchandise sales. But I like that AEW is open and brings other people in and other wrestling companies in, and then sends their talent to their shows too.
Definitely.
So do you have a favorite tag team? You said Hogan was your favorite.
Yeah, he was my favorite growing up. Tag team. Well, it was a lot of tag teams I like. The Steiner brothers were one of my favorites. One, because they went to Michigan, and they used to always come out with the Michigan Letterman, so they were always one of my favorites.
And one of the few teams to be AWA, NWA, WCW, and WWE tag team champions.
Yep.
There's only a handful of teams that can lay claim to that.
Yeah, definitely. Harlem Heat was another.
Oh, yes. Yeah, right.
And that's another tag team that I don't think a lot of people talk about. Like, we talk about the Dudleys, we talk about the Hardys, Edge and Christian, the Hart Foundation, Demolition, all these tag teams, but I think we don't talk enough about Harlem Heat.
Yep.
10-time tag team, 10-time WCW tag team champions. I mean, they should be right in that conversation too.
Absolutely. I loved Harlem Heat. They were the staple tag team of WCW for a while. I mean, if you go back and for like 6 or 7 years, Harlem Heat they're always there. And I think they should have gotten longer reigns, with their runs, but they were 10 times. I mean, there's nothing too shabby about being 10-time champions. And I'm a huge fan of Harlem Heat. Yeah.
They were one of my favorites. The Outsiders were one of my favorites. They weren't necessarily like a tag team, but I just think they brought that cool factor. Hall and Nash brought that cool factor, and I think that's why they were like a fan, as everybody loved them as a tag team. I think their styles went really well together. Scott Hall was
I mean, and let's be honest. No one throws a right hand better in wrestling than Scott Hall. He's got the best right hand in the business. Okay. So, I mean, Scott Hall, he was the worker, he'd get beat up. Kevin Nash would get the hot tags, the big boots, and then, he'd throw him in the corners and just, knee lift him and then back elbow him into oblivion. I think their styles went well together, is why they were such a popular tag team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm a huge Outsiders fan too. I even had trouble, even when I was watching the NWO unfold, I really wanted to like the Outsiders. I was like, I really like them as a tag team, but they're the NWO and I have to hate them because I have to stay with Sting.
Yeah. They were my favorites. And then we go to WWE, man, going all the way back to the 80s, the Hart Foundation, the British Bulldogs, even Greg the Hammer Valentine and Brutus Beefcake before he became the Barber. I'm trying to think of some more. Edge and Christian, the New Age Outlaws, the Hardys.
My go-to is always the Legion of Doom.
Yeah, Legion of Doom, Road Warriors. Yeah, I always wanted them shoulder pads with the spikes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you know what? I think that's why, like Sting. I think that's why the Legion of Doom and Sting. They painted their faces. They had bright, colorful. Spiked shoulder pads. Sting had the spiked blonde hair. Yeah, they were comic book guys.
Yeah.
They looked like they were out of the comic book.
Ultimate Warrior. Yeah, he used to do the same thing with his paint. He used to have the strings on his arms and the strings on his shoes. And, and when he was the Intercontinental Champion and the World Champion, he had the color strap on his the color strap for his belt too.
Yeah, he was the first. I think he the first one to do that? Well, I'll have to look that up for next time we do an episode together. But yeah, he had the white Intercontinental belt, right?
He had white. He had yellow.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he went to a couple of different ones. Yeah, I forgot about that.
He had a couple colors.
Yeah. I'm not. The Ultimate Warrior. I respect that the fans love them, and I respect his physique. But again, he was somebody who, if you look behind the scenes and stuff, he didn't really respect the wrestling business and what it was about.
No.
So I'm not a huge Ultimate Warrior fan either. But I'm a picky guy. Like I'm somebody who will, just say, hey, I don't like him, but that doesn't mean I hate the Ultimate Warrior. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean I think he could have never been in wrestling or anything. He certainly has his place. Just like Goldberg. I think Goldberg's the worst wrestler of all time. In terms of everything that makes a wrestler a wrestler.
Yeah.
And my proof to that, if anybody wants proof to that, fine. Go watch the William Regal and Bill Goldberg match and tell me that is not the hardest match you've ever had to watch in your life.
You know what? I remember watching that on the Goldberg A&E biography. I saw it somewhere where they showed that match, and that match was horrible.
Yeah. Regal was like, what do you want me to do? He's like, you want me to just go out there and get speared and he's like, no, you're going to wrestle him for 20 minutes. And he's like, what? I'm going to wrestle him? Yeah, it's a terrible. I mean, he struggles. William Regal's trying to put him in a simple hammerlock, and Goldberg struggles to even, make that happen. So that's why I'm not a Goldberg fan, but just because I'm not a fan of his and I think he's a really bad wrestler, you can't deny his streak. You can't deny his impact on wrestling, and you can't deny his popularity. Yeah. I'm not one of those crazy people who are like, just because I don't like him doesn't mean that he didn't contribute something to the sport.
Right. And that's I think they needed that Goldberg character because like the NWO Sting storyline was starting to fizzle out, and they needed something to get people talking again. So when they started the streak with Goldberg,
that's what extended
everybody talking, you know what I'm saying? And then they had to keep that going, but then the way he ended his streak,
they had to make it dirty. Again, they had to make it dirty. I think it would have been better to actually straight up lose if he'd have just lost his streak instead of it being all clouded and crap.
Yeah, because he lost at Starrcade to Kevin Nash. Scott Hall came out and he hit him with the cattle prod. Yeah,
the cattle prod. Yeah.
And it's just like, I remember just watching that. I'm like, this is how you're gonna lose. Like, no, I think he should have lost to somebody like Sting or Diamond Dallas Page or even Booker T.
Sting and Goldberg only face one time, and the match gets interrupted before the finish.
Oh,
so yeah, they only wrestled one time. It was during his streak, and then he ended up getting, Sting got disqualified because the NWO came down and started attacking Goldberg. So they gave it to Goldberg, but to keep the streak alive. But yeah, they only had one match together, and it was only for a couple of minutes, and then the NWO came in and interfered.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And you're right, though. The Goldberg thing did extended the life of the NWO. It extended WCW's grab on the ratings because the winning streak and his power, Goldberg's power, the way he could spear somebody and the way he just held people up for the jackhammer, it was attention grabbing. You know what I mean? People, you don't get to get people with that kind of power.
Yeah, and then when he had the jackhammer, depending on who you were, and he would just have you up in the air.
Yep.
And then just drop you. Like when he put the Big Show in, and when he did the jackhammer on the Big Show, it's just like, wow, that's a strong dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, he's also one of the reasons Bret Hart got his career ended.
With the kick to the head.
Yep. And then the concussion. Yeah. So that's another reason I don't like Goldberg.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what I mean. I don't think he was a good wrestler. I don't think he was a safe wrestler, but I don't deny what he did.
Yeah. I think he probably needed more time in the ring as far as like practicing and stuff.
Yeah.
They just saw WCW saw that streak. They saw what he could do, training and stuff like that, and they was just like, "Hey, let's go with it." But I think he needed a little bit more time to.
Yeah, he could have been seasoned. Yeah, he could have been seasoned a little bit more. Yeah. And then, he got a little bit better, I guess, in the WWE when they brought him in the WWE, and he had his WWE run. So that was a better run to me, like a more realistic run. Like I bought him as an actual human being than in his WWE run than I did in the WCW run. So at least, when he came back, he at least, got some respect for the business and was like, hey, I actually need to, there's a lot of people making fun of me because I don't know how to wrestle.
Yeah. But you know what? When he came back, like the last couple of years, a few years ago, and they put the Universal Championship on him, it's just like he doesn't need the belt. Like, why are y'all like?
It's like Brock having the belt,
huh?
It's like Brock having the belt. Brock don't need the belt.
He don't, but I would rather have Brock with the belt than Goldberg with the belt.
Me too.
At least with Brock that if he's in the ring with somebody, it's going to be a interesting match.
Yeah.
Goldberg just doesn't have it anymore. You know what I'm saying? And it's always good to see your favorites from back in the day, but it's just like now.
Yeah,
man. No, you know what I'm saying? Yep. Like, just come in if you're gonna have a match, cool. But to put the championship on him, they could have put that on Dolph Ziggler. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, I'm a Dolph Ziggler fan. Ziggler fan. I think he's and I love that he does other wrestlers' moves.
Yeah.
I like that he does the Famouser. I like that he does the Stinger Splash. Like I like that he does some of the old style wrestler moves in his wrestling moves list, in his move list. I love that he does that. So I like Dolph Ziggler. I'm a fan of his.
He's the most underrated wrestler in wrestling right now. There's no way Dolph Ziggler should have not had at least 4 world title reigns. He should have been at least a 4 or 5 time world champion. He was just that good, and he put people over when they do certain moves. Like if he gets stunned by Stone Cold, he's gonna what's the word I'm looking for?
He's gonna sell the shit. He's gonna sell that shit.
He's gonna
sell the shit out of that. Yeah.
He's gonna sell it, and he might even put a little cherry on top and do something extra. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he is so underrated. Like I don't understand why he never really got
those are some of the wrestlers that I think are the best wrestlers. You have to be able to win. You have to have a good character, but you have to be able to sell a move. You have to be able to put someone else over.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I think I like about Jericho is even now, he's the old, he's the Undertaker of the AEW locker room. He's the old man. He's been wrestling for 4 decades now. We were saying that about Ric Flair 20 years ago. He's been wrestling for 4 decades now. Yeah. And now it's Jericho, and he still puts people over. He still, when he's out there and he gets hit with something, I buy it all day. I love Jericho. Yeah. He sells everything so well, and he's good when he wins too. Like he doesn't just. Jericho's one of the best all around wrestlers. He can do it all, and I love that he's in the position that he's in right now.
And he definitely reinvents himself. Like he always finds a way to reinvent himself.
Oh man, that too. Yeah.
He did that with the what was the name of the faction in AEW with
the first one, the Inner Circle.
The Inner Circle. Yep, he did that with the Inner Circle. Then when that started fizzling out, that's when he did the Jericho Appreciation Society. Yeah. Now that's starting to fizzle.
Yeah.
And now he's supposed to be quote unquote joining Don Callis and his family. So
is he? I must have missed that. I must be an episode or two behind or something. That's great. Actually, Don Callis and Jericho together. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because they did something on AEW, I guess, back in the day when they used to wrestle together. They were like a tag team or something. So they've been talking about it on the last couple of shows. Don Callis been trying to get him to join his family.
Oh man.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting.
Don Callis, man, he is great on the mic, man, and he will get booed right out of the stadium. Don Callis.
Since he turned on the Elite, that's all. He probably has more heat on him than Dominic Mysterio right now.
Yeah, Dominic Mysterio. I know. How about that? What? Well, I think that's probably where we. Unless you got something else that you want to discuss, I think that's probably where we'll wrap it up. Unless there's something else you'd like to talk about.
We can just save it for the next show.
We're gonna hopefully be doing more collaboration here with Mike D and the Wrestling from the 313. So make sure you check them out on Facebook and YouTube. Hit that subscribe button so that you can be notified when they're going live or when they put out new episodes.
Oh, and also I want to say too, I now have episode 1 is on Amazon Music, and I got the episode 1 on Spotify.
Oh yeah, I saw you on Spotify now. Yeah, we're not even on Spotify yet, but that takes you have to have the right feed, the RSS feed and stuff to get on Spotify, and that usually costs money. And Mayhem Media is not at the point where we can shell out any more money than what we already currently are. So
yeah, I hear.
But yes, also on Spotify, Wrestling from the 313, and on Apple Music. Make sure you go check that out if you prefer Spotify or Apple Music. Check him out there, and and of course he's on YouTube and Facebook.
And I'm also on TikTok. I'm also on Twitter, and I'm also on Instagram. So just look up Wrestling from the 313. You see that? Hit the follow button, like button, subscribe. Just do it all.
Yep, do all that. And we're not on all of those. You can follow me on Instagram, JDE Poster Designs. That's with a Z at the end of it. You can follow me on Twitter, JD at Mayhem Prez. And of course, we're on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Just search Mayhem Media, and you can find us. Our storefront. I'm not wearing a T-shirt today. I decided to go with the Four Horsemen, tradition of excellence. But you cannot get this shirt on our storefront, so don't go there expecting to get this shirt on our storefront. But we do have apparel available on our storefront at bonfire.com/store/JDEDESIGNz. That's with a Z at the end of it. That's where you can find the Mayhem Media apparel. We have a couple of different designs up, and we'll be putting more up in the coming weeks. This is our season finale. This is the last episode that you're going to see until probably early or mid-September. So this is our final episode. We do have some content that we're going to be releasing through the month of August. Our Mount Rushmore series. We have four of them that we'll be releasing during our time off. But this is, Mike D, you got the honor of being the official season 1 finale for Mayhem Media. So make sure you look for us again in September. I may be on Mike D's episodes or Friends of the Squared Circle or Honor the Elite. I may be on their episodes or on their podcast during my time off. But Mayhem Media will not be having any new episodes again until September. I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break so I can try and get some R&R because I'm tired.
Podcasting, it's a grind, man. It's definitely a grind.
That's the one thing I've noticed about most people getting into it is they think they're getting into it and they think it's just going to be a camera and me, and it's going to be popular. That's not how it's going to be. There's work involved.
Yeah, you got it. It's basically like it's marketing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's hustling. Like you got to convince people to like, hey, this is my podcast.
Yeah,
watch it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But you also got to develop episodes so that people keep watching, and you got to promote yourself. And yeah, it's not an easy task. It is a lot of work, and I run 2 podcasts. Make sure you check out our sister show, the Boiling Point podcast. That covers politics, finance, faith, religion, world news. Mayhem Media here is for the entertainment topics, the TV, wrestling, movies, sports, and etc. Olympics.
Just one more thing, podcasting is a grind, and it can be tiresome, but it can also be fun, especially if you're doing something that you're a fan of. Like, we all are wrestling fans, so it's like, yes, it's a grind, but it's a fun grind. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you going to work 9 to 5 and you just mad because you at a job you don't like. You're doing something and you creating something that you like. So it's just like,
well, we don't we don't make any. Mayhem Media does not make a bunch of money at this point. So if I didn't enjoy it, we wouldn't still be doing it. Absolutely.
I think everybody that's podcasting, whether it's wrestling or politics or whatever, I think that's the goal. They want to get paid, and you do it right, you can. Trust me, I'm trying to get there too, for real.
Yep, absolutely. And I like the little community that we're kind of making here on the entertainment side, with our friends of the Squared Circle, Honor the cruising with kayfabe. We're kind of putting a little network together of podcasters here. And I kind of like that I fit in because I'm not just wrestling. A lot of you guys are wrestling, but I don't just do wrestling. So that's my spot, I think, in this group that we're making here, is that I offer a little bit more than just wrestling. So if you like wrestling, hit Wrestling from the 313, check him out. And if you like, I do wrestling too, of course, on Mayhem, but we also do other things. So if you're looking for other entertainment topics, make sure you tune into us. Bonfire, Facebook. Bonfire's our storefronts. We're on Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. Please share us out. Leave us a comment. We will talk about it in a future episode. We will have Mike D on after we come back from our break. For Wrestling from the 313, I am your host, JD. That's the end.
Peace.